Hi, Aqua Roomers. Time for chapter reading. So yesterday, we're reading that spring has finally come. And Laura and Mary have playhouses under the two big oak trees in the front of their house. And they play with broken cups. They play with leaves. They play with acorns. They play with rocks. Anything they can find. Pa made a swing of tough bark, and he hung it to a large low branch of Laura's tree. It was her swing because it was in her tree, but she had to be unselfish and let Mary swing at it whenever she wanted to. Suki and Rosie, the cows, were turned loose in the big woods now to eat the wild grass and the juicy new leaves. There were 2 little calves in the barnyard and 7 little pigs with their mother hog in the pig pen. In the clearing he made last year, Pa was plowing around the stumps and putting in his crops. One night he came in from work and he said to Laura, "What do you think I saw today?" She couldn't guess. "Well," Pa said, "when I was working in the clearing this morning, I looked up, and there at the edge of the woods stood a deer. She was a doe, a mother deer, and you'll never guess what was with her." "A baby deer?" Laura and Mary guessed together, clasping their hands. "Yes," Pa said. "Her fawn was with her. It was a pretty little thing, the softest fawn color, with big dark eyes. It had the tiniest feet, not much bigger than my thumb, and it had slender little legs and the softest muzzle. It stood there and looked at me with its large soft eyes, wondering what I was. It was not afraid at all." "You wouldn't shoot a baby deer, would you, Pa?" Laura asked. "No, never," he answered. "Nor its ma, nor its pa. No more hunting now till all the little wild animals have grown up. We'll just have to do without fresh meat till fall." So they don't get to eat any meat spring, summer, not till fall. Pa said that as soon as he had the crops in, they would all go to town. Laura and Mary could go too. They were old enough now. They were very much excited, and the next day they tried to play going to town. They could not do it very well because they were not quite sure what a town was like. They knew there was a store in town, but they had never seen a store. Nearly every day after that, Charlotte and Nettie would ask if they could go to town, but Laura and Mary always said, "No, dear, you can't go this year. Perhaps next year, if you're good, then you can go." And then one night, Pa said, "We'll go to town tomorrow." That night, although it was the middle of the week, Ma bathed Laura and Mary all over, and she put up their hair. Remember, they only take baths on Saturday night, but it's the middle of the week. They're getting a bath before they go to town the next day. She divided their long hair into wisps, combed each wisp with a wet comb, and wound it tightly on a bit of a rag. There were knobby little bumps all over their heads, whichever way they turned on their pillows. In the morning, their hair would be curly. They were so excited, they did not go to sleep at once. Ma was not sitting with her mending basket as usual. She was busy getting everything ready for a quick breakfast and laying out the best stockings and petticoats and dresses and Pa's good shirt and her own dark brown calico with the little purple flowers on it. The days were longer now. In the morning, Ma blew out the lamp before they finished breakfast. It was a beautiful, clear spring morning. Ma hurried Laura and Mary with their breakfast. She washed the dishes quickly. They put on their stockings and shoes while she made the beds. Then she helped them put on their best dresses, Mary's china blue calico and Laura's dark red calico. Mary buttoned Laura up the back, and then Ma buttoned Mary. Ma took off the rags of their hair and combed it into long round curls that hung down over their shoulders. She combed so fast that the snarls hurt dreadfully. Mary's hair was beautifully golden, but Laura's was only a dirt-colored brown. When their curls were done, Ma tied their sunbonnets under their chins. She fastened her collar with the gold pin, and she was putting on her hat when Pa drove up to the gate. He had curried the horses till they shone. He'd swept the wagon box clean and laid a clean blanket on the wagon seat. Ma, with baby Carrie in her arms, sat up on the wagon seat with Pa, and Laura and Mary sat on a board fastened across the wagon box behind the seat. They were happy as they drove through the springtime woods. Carrie laughed and bounced. Ma was smiling, and Pa whistled while he drove the horses. The sun was bright and warm on the road. Sweet, cool smells came out of the leafy woods. Rabbits stood up in the road ahead, their little front paws dangling down and their noses sniffing, and the sun showed through their tall, twitching ears. And then they bounded away with a flash of a little white tail. Twice, Laura and Mary saw a deer looking at them with their large dark eyes from the shadows among the trees. It was 7 miles to town. The town was named Pepin, and it was on the shore of Lake Pepin. Boys and girls, you can find that on a map. Do you remember on our big atlas we found Wisconsin, and there's a big lake, Lake Pepin, and the town is right on the edge of the lake. After a long time, Laura began to see glimpses of blue water between the trees. The hard road turned into soft sand. The wagon wheels went deep down in it, and the horses pulled and sweated. Often Pa stopped them to rest for a few minutes. Then all at once, the road came out of the woods, and Laura saw the lake. It was as blue as the sky, and it went to the edge of the world. As far as she could see, there was nothing but flat blue water very far away. The sky and the water met, and then there was a darker blue line. The sky was large overhead. Laura had never known the sky was so big. There was so much empty space all around her that she felt small and frightened and glad that Pa and Ma were there. Suddenly, the sunshine was hot. The sun was almost overhead in the large empty sky, and the cool woods stood back from the edge of the lake. Even the big woods seemed smaller under so much sky. Pa stopped the horses and turned around on the wagon seat. He pointed ahead with his whip. "There you are, Laura and Mary," he said. "There is the town of Pepin." Look, they'd never seen anything like that. There's the lake. Look at all the houses. Remember, Laura and Mary live in the big woods, and there's no houses close to them. And see the big building right here? That's the store. So, whenever Pa talks about the wagon box, that's the back of the wagon. See how it looks just like a box? And then he put a board across for Laura and Mary to sit on. Oh, there's Jack. He must have come along too. My goodness. Laura stood up on the board, and Pa held her safe by the arm so she could see the town. When she saw it, she could hardly breathe. She knew how Yankee Doodle felt when he could not see the town because there were so many houses. Right on the edge of the lake, there was one great big building. That was the store. Pa told her it was not made of logs. It was made of wide gray boards running up and down the sand was spread all around it. Behind the store there was a clearing larger than Pa's clearing in the woods at home. Standing among the stumps, there were more houses than Laura could count. They were not made of logs either. They were made of boards, like the store. Let's see. Oh. So if you look carefully, do you see the boards? They go up and down, up and down. They're not logs. My house has boards like that, except the boards on my house go back and forth, back and forth. Some of you might have the same kind of house. Laura had never imagined so many houses, and they were so close together. Of course, they were much smaller than the store. One of them was made of new boards that had not had time to get gray. It was the yellow color of newly cut wood. People were living in all those houses. Smoke rose up from the chimneys. Though it was not Monday, some woman had spread out a washing on the bushes and stumps by her house. Several girls and boys were playing in the sunshine in the open space between the store and the houses. They were jumping from one tree stump to the next and shouting. "Well, that's Pepin," Pa said. Laura just nodded her head. She looked and looked. She could not say a word. After a while, she sat down again, and the horses went on. They left the wagon on the shore of the lake. Pa unhitched the horses and tied one to each side of the wagon box. Then he took Laura and Mary by the hand, and Ma came beside them carrying baby Carrie. They walked through the deep sand to the store. The warm sand came in over the tops of Laura's shoes. There was a wide platform in front of the store, and at one end of it, steps went up out of the sand. Laura's heart was beating so fast, she could hardly climb the steps. She was trembling all over. This was the store to which Pa came to trade his furs. When they went in, the storekeeper knew him. The storekeeper came out from behind the counter and spoke to him and Ma, and then Laura and Mary had to show their manners. Mary said, "How do you do?" But Laura could not say anything. The storekeeper said to Pa and Ma, "That's a pretty little girl you've got there," and he admired Mary's golden curls. But he did not say anything about Laura or about her curls. They were ugly and brown. The store was full of things to look at. All along one side of it were shelves full of colored prints and calico. There were beautiful blues, reds, browns, purples. On the floor along the sides of the plank counters, there were kegs of nails, round, gray. There were big wooden pails full of candy. There were sacks of salt and sacks of store sugar. So, that is what the store looks like. Laura had never seen so many things in her life. My goodness. See, Ma is looking at the calico material. And I think this says salt. Oh, look at that. The girls are having so much fun. So the next day we will read more adventures in the store. Was that fun? Thanks, Aqua Roomers. Bye.